Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcasts.
G'day and welcome to Thrash and Treasure, the torture chamber musical podcast that pits thrash metal against the brilliant musical theatre. I'm your host for this week, Aaron, and I'm joined as usual by my adequate co-host, Gareth. How you doing, mate?
I'm going really good. I'm adequately drinking coffee because it's early here.
So am I. I hope yours is warmer than mine because mine's depressingly bad.
Mine's excellent. I made it myself.
Nah, it's dead. Rest in peace. I can only do a hot coffee. I don't know how people do this iced coffee bullshit. But anyways, I'm not going to complain about my coffee much today. We're joined by a friend of mine from across the Pacific Ocean. We're joined by somebody whose work you have seen time and time again. Somebody who has worked on the Oscars and on the Jim Rome Show, the Disney Radio Awards. And as a Disney fan, I'm like, yeah, man, that's awesome. He's got so many Emmys, it's almost a harem. He's also worked as a technical director for people such as Shirley Bassey, Holy Moly, Blink-182, and Ozzy motherfucking Osbourne.
All right.
So it is my pleasure to introduce you to my friend, Jonathan X, all the way from Los Angeles. How you doing, mate?
Happy to be here, and I'm drinking water.
You're drinking water. I hope it's at least cold.
Yes, it has ice
warm.
in it.
That's all right then. That's what I need here. So yeah. Now, this week we would give it, because obviously for our listeners at home, Jonathan isn't a Broadway or a West End or an Australian or anywhere theatre performer. He actually works in television. So he's serviced music in a lot of ways and has technically directed performances, as I mentioned, by the effervescent Dame Shirley Bassey. I have to ask, what was that like?
Be honest with you, I can't remember, but
I can't remember yesterday.
My last project, which was odd because of COVID, it was out of New York. It was called Backstage on Broadway.
Oh, well, there you go.
And so this ties into the Broadway aspect of your podcast. It was about 10 or 15 performances by all these Broadway actors as a New Year's celebration. It was a corporate event, but it was really cool. And it was done at a bowling alley in New York.
Yeah.
Brooklyn bowling alley, and I was here in LA in my office, and I directed the whole show on my laptop.
Whoa.
Which was pretty interesting because we had, this is all the COVID prep and all this other stuff, but there was like great songs from Frozen and, people from Phantom of the Opera and The Lion King. It was just really, really good. So there was a lot of solid performance, but I don't think that project could be seen anywhere because it was a corporate gig. So, but it was fascinating. But as far as Shirley, I can't recall the project, so I don't want to mislead your listeners. I did Shirley Bassey. I can't recall it, but the Backstage on Broadway was my current thing that might be closest to doing theater.
Was that similar to the event that NBC did recently, where they did performances through the streets of New York?
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever producers want to create and how you can do it. Now the way it used to be, to the way things are happening now because of COVID protocols and production. I'm sure you guys are much better off than we are in America right now. LA right now is blowing up, and I received the email the other day from the Producers Guild about stopping our productions. And I was just listening to a story today that there's only like 17 ICU beds available in LA right now, LA County.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So it's a disaster because over here people are so crazy they've made it a political issue versus a scientific, health issue. So everybody's like being an asshole, and you see these videos of people running around. There's a store called Erewhon, which is like ironic because it's the most holistic bourgeois store ever, and you got all these nutcases running around screaming about not wearing masks. And then they go over to the mall in Century City, which is another bourgeois complex, and they're running around talking about this isn't communist China or Iran, and we have the right to walk around with no masks. It's just so fucking stupid here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. As I said last week in our show, the same people who are refusing to wear masks today would drain a swimming pool 30 years ago because a gay man swam in it.
It's
Fucking
weird.
hell, what is wrong with people? People need to stop and just compare those two and think to themselves, why? And I confronted someone about this, or everyone on Twitter recently about this, and one guy said the government didn't give us a mandate about wearing condoms.
What?
That's what makes it acceptable. The
you need
government didn't tell him he has to. Holy fucking shit, man. Sit down before you hurt yourself.
Yeah.
I could have thrown my laptop at the wall, but I'm a pretty calm guy, as anyone listening to this show can verify.
Well, I'm sorry if I didn't really answer your question about the NBC production, but the whole production techniques, pre-COVID, post-COVID, has had a dramatic effect on the approaches to production, how things are done, from the zones of a production site, the day of testing, the pre-testing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's been necessity is the mother of invention. There's been a lot of progress made over the past year of third-party apps and developers and software techniques and I call it cloud-based production, things of that nature, which allowed me to sit in my office and look at a multi-viewer that I was streaming on my browser. I had my iPad open with a Unity app for communications, and then I dragged and dropped one of my browser feeds to my external monitor to watch the line cut and see all the, and then I had another window open to look at script and rundown information, as we were using a shared Google Drive to update information and script information and rundown. So there's a lot of things production-wise that I'm sure is going to affect theater and regular production, film production, television production, which is creating some new jobs, and it's also eliminating a lot of new jobs. Yeah. For instance, I worked on a project recently where I was lucky enough to work out of the house, and I was here in LA. My graphic operator was in San Francisco. One of my playback operators doing the playback of the files was somewhere in Colorado, and so you make adjustments for latency, delay, like you guys do for your podcast, because I think you guys are in different parts of the country, right?
Yeah.
So anything's about delay, things of that latency. So you develop those skill sets of manipulating that, but then we're all over. So it's almost like, how long will it be before, the producers here in LA realize, well, why should I keep my production hub in LA where I can send it to high-speed internet access to somewhere like Taiwan for $50 a day versus paying $1,000 a day? Do something where, like on one show where they have the studios in New York, but some of the cameras are in LA, and with motion tracking, they can follow the tracking backgrounds and do chroma key, the overlay, and do things like that. And because it's always going to come down to money and creative. So, so it's there's a lot of changes on the horizon.
I noticed Drew Barrymore's had guests on her show because she's in New York, but her guests have been in Los Angeles by green screen, sitting there in the studio. So
and that's part of the motion tracking backgrounds and virtual things and augmented reality concepts, and it's amazing times, from when I first started to where things are now, going from analog to digital.
It is, isn't it? Well, we're literally living in the future. If we're sitting in our rooms creating projects and
it would not have been feasible economically to have these resources for artists. And that's one thing. On occasion, I teach a class at Cal State Northridge or do speaking engagements at other local universities talking to the up-and-coming young bloods. And I let them know that, when I first started, I had like a Kodak 8mm camera shooting films. And then when I was a military brat living in Germany, take it to the PX, ship it back to the lab, then wait till it comes back and then put it on my projector and then see if I overexpose, underexpose. I says, now you have 4K video on your cell phone.
Yeah.
You have non-destructive editing on your laptop. You have all this Adobe After Effects, plugins, et cetera, where the creativity is in the hands of the artist. So even if you're a filmmaker, a writer, producer, director, editor, sound, whatever you wanted to do, you can already now start putting your team together and start creating your projects. So if you're the rock and roll buff or you're the theater buff and you have people that want to do performances and you have a friend who's a writer, you can start creating your short plays, your short productions. You can have a friend who wants to be a DP and start taping and working and editing and then start doing your storytelling. So, you got to go through a lot of bullshit before you find stuff that's really, really good. But the fact is, there's no reason for people who can't or who want to be creators and storytellers to do so right now.
Yep.
That's it. There's probably sometimes too many avenues, I think, for artists. But at least there are those avenues now. I mean, coming up as a child, a teenager, and being ambitious and all that, I would call up professionals like find their numbers in the phone book and stuff like that and call them up and find out advice. And I just think, man, if I was a kid today, I probably wouldn't be doing it because it wasn't that game or that challenge. You know, it does seem very, very easy today to become an artist, which is good. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but for me, I think I have enjoyed that challenge, that having to start from the ground up and find a team, to put a thing in the newspaper and say, I want actors for something, or looking for filmmakers, you know what I mean? And instead of going online on a message board and there being thousands of artists already there at my fingertips, because even now that's today, I still can't find people to do artwork. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword, I think, in a way, because it's diluting, I think, a little bit of that.
Well, if I understand that from that perspective, but
Yeah.
from I have this philosophy, and you've probably seen it on some of my Twitter feeds, because I know we follow each other on Twitter. You know,
Yeah.
I talk about the art of collaboration.
Yes, and look, I'm all for it. I really am.
And so as you're searching those like-minded souls, right? I mean, we've never met personally, but you know, I love your sense of humor, and I in fact, let me digress for a second. One tweet of yours that I always mention, you know, especially, is when there was somebody talking about succulent plants, and then somebody made a reference to chocolate succulents, and then you responded, "Idris Elba, am I right, ladies?"
Yeah.
and that one,
All right.
I'll never forget that one, because I was like, that is fucking funny. I laughed so hard, and I repeated that joke so many times to so many different people, because I know a lot of people who love Idris, so the chocolate succulent thing's a winner. But
well, yeah, it's sort of an evergreen tweet when you think about
it works for everything. But to go back, you have the opportunity to find. And it takes time to search and find it, but find like-minded spirits and like-minded souls. And then you can filter out the people that, you know, in the beginning of my career, I took every gig I could get, because I had to sharpen and get my skills together. But then when things start moving along, I had a chance to say, when people call me about a job, who's producing, who's directing. And this is during my technical director days.
Yep.
Who's producing, who's directing. Oh, if I knew the person was a fucking asshole, I would just tell them, oh, I'm sorry, I'm already booked those days. Because I had a choice, right?
Yeah.
But now then when I crossed over to directing, you know, there were certain circumstances, like, you guys know Rove McManus, right?
Yep.
He's a big Australian. So this is the only name I'm going to bring up.
He's a very small Australian.
Yeah. Well, I remember his show Rove LA.
Yeah.
I directed season 1, which was 10 episodes. And then I think season 2 was like 11 or 12 episodes. And then season 2, I didn't know this, but I didn't find out until after the fact that one of the Australian producers wanted a more of a film look. So they changed the aperture. Him and the video person decided to open up the aperture, change the depth of field, which made one of my cameras have a hard time tracking focus when we introduced our guests and they walked out. It was always out of focus. It was, we did paperwork, shoot around. So after episode 9 of 11, I got fired.
Ouch.
Oh.
You know, and then the last 2 episodes are still the same problem. But at that time, you work with a producer, you know, that it goes like, you know, and you do the best you can, and you don't have choices. And now as a director, I do the best I can, you know, with the crew that I have. And then I try to hire people that are like-minded souls, because of all the networking and collaboration you've done over the years. And then you do your team building. So even though you say, okay, I understand, I got to go through all these people, there's so many, but when they see your body of work, they see what you're doing, you're creating, then they'll be attracted to you. And the next thing you know, you're going to have this collective team, which is always going to be just wonderful to have, and then just develop and do more work and great work together, you know, because it's wonderful when you can, like the backstage on Broadway that I just did. I knew nobody, and we had like a day or two. We had one day of rehearsal, blocking, shooting, rehearsing, and every rehearsal it got better. And then Saturday morning did a running show, and then we did the show. But as you build that, and you build that sense of camaraderie, you build that sense of investment, you build that sense of, you know, relying on their professionalism and their skill set, and then as they bring that to the table, you respect that, but at the same time, you're making the decisions, you're doing the guidance, you're still the director. So, but you take that feedback from your department heads and adjustments and looking and adjusting, and here, okay, I would like to get this shot. Can we help on that key light here? Oh, that upstage left light. Can we kill that when we go here, when we do the cross? can we illuminate here as we cross over and give me a little bit more light there as I do the transition? And then I'm going to go to camera 2, which is going to be tight, track them out to the stage. So, and that's all the things come together, and then you start working. Then next thing you know, you do a fucking great show, and it's just like, those old Mickey Rooney, Judy Garland movies where they get together and they put on a play in the barn to save the farm.
What am I thinking? Oh, because this was right after The Wizard of Oz, wasn't it? I know what movie you're talking about, but I can't remember.
It's just a common thing where they go like, oh, we got
Babes in Arms.
Paul lost his job. Oh, we got to save the farm. Let's put on the play, and we all get together and do a performance. It's like this, because I was thinking the other day about when I was a kid. It's like, like the Bowery Boys, Ma and Pa Kettle, Francis the Talking Mule, and all these old serial Saturday morning matinee movies. And I was like, fuck, I'm old, because I was like, it's like Francis the Talking Mule, and that shit was funny, and I remember that stuff. And this, I don't know how this relates to the rock and roll and to the theater, but that's just all part of production.
I just want to jump in and ask you a question, because just then you were reeling off the top of your head all those different directions with the tracking the camera and the lighting and pulling it in tight. And when you're doing that, do you go into a production, I've got this idea in my head where I want to know what it looks like, or are you looking at it going, this needs to happen now? And are you making those kind of decisions on the fly where I need more light on camera 2 and I need camera 3 to pull back to make it look better?
Here's where we get here. For me, this is the process, right? So initially it's like, what is it that we're creating? What are we doing? Is it a talk show? Is it a variety show? Is it strictly music performance? Is it theatrical? Is it this? Is it a combination? Is it esports? Is it gaming? Is it a big arena show, spectacle with monster wide shots? Like if you look at that link I sent you, you have the esports gaming reel, and you see the stuff I did in Berlin where it was like 15,000 people, and it had this beautiful set design with Nicolene, who was one of the art directors on Eurovision. And she had this beautiful set design, right? So, you got, okay, I'm going to have camera placement here because I want to get the big shots with the Vera lights and, the 15,000 people with the LED lights. So, you structure that. But then, you need to get down low, tight, where this tight framing is for the faces of the gamers and the hands and the keyboard. And then, so it depends on the content of what the project is, right? So then you have your basic, and everything begins as writers, with the script, right? The script. What are the words? What is the rundown? Okay, so then you have, okay, I'm formulating the concept, what we're doing, okay, camera placement, okay, lighting, set design, and I try to communicate with the lighting director, the set designer, and what their vision is, what they're creating, because I always try to make sure that I highlight what they love the most, because everybody's an artist, right? The lighting director's doing things that he thinks, oh, this will be great, I can do this here. Okay, well, okay, let me understand that. Set designer, oh, this perspective for this background, this depth, this, that looks great there. Okay, let me see if I can, okay, now to run a show, the talent placement, this, camera placement. I remember the lighting director said he can do this here. So if I do this here, and then he can do that big swish where all the very lights key and flow, and then we come back down tight and do a push there, and then find that one perspective where the talent comes out stage left to downstage center, and then we find that center axis push, things of that nature. You start conceptualizing. And then when you start rehearsing, you start blocking out segment by segment. Block, 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 block. Look there. And then you say, okay, LD, look at this. I want to try here, here, here. Can we make an adjustment here? Will we make that turn here? Can you work with that? Yes, go. Checklist. All right. Set design. I need to move here. Can we place this or slide these chairs this way so my camera can walk this way and blah, 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 blah. Oh, we can do that. Cool. Check. Okay. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Go down the line, right? So as you're formulating that, during your rehearsing, you're blocking, going through the segments. Then you see what's working, what's not working. And then you have your command sequence. And sometimes it might be, we know we're coming out of break doing this. So it might be a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go 7, fade up on 7, then automatic lighting, audio, set, push, movement. It all happens together at 0, coming up on 1, and it's all working, So it's a matter of coordinated efforts. Rehearsal is everything.
Yep.
And then your cameras, you have your zone coverage. But here's the part that's the beauty of it all. As you're working and you've structured A, B, C, D, E, you have all your plans, you have all your structure, you have all this. But then all of a sudden, things happen that wasn't planned for. And either A, it's going to be a total disaster and throw everybody off, or B, it's going to be one of those moments that you capture. And that's where you rely on your cameraman to break, to get this. Somebody runs here. that personal check. The other camera will stay for the reactions. The other one might come wide to give you a relationship between point A and point B where they're going. Somebody else might turn around and get that person's reaction face. The event happens. Then you go back wide. Everybody goes back, restores, and settles back to their basic zone coverage. That's when you rely on the professional of your peer, your team, to adjust. Right? Capture the moment, adjust, and then default back to your basic zone coverage for wherever you might be on the rundown. So that's what is happening. So all that's happening at the same time. You plan, and then just like I'm looking at my Zoom monitor here, only instead of looking at 3 quadrants, I might be looking at 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 quadrants. And I'm scanning, knowing, watching, listening, never looking at my program monitor. If I look at my program monitor, I'm screwed because I'm missing what's happening on all the other cameras. My script AD is working, my AD is working, my technical director is working, and I'm just looking and listening and trying to cover the event based upon how we rehearsed it and also based upon what's happening now at that moment.
Yep. Wow. My head's exploding just on
No. For me, it's just like, it's like second nature. And it's something that I fucking love doing. I like on my Sunday show we just finished week 17 yesterday, American football. It's 7 hours live, no commercial breaks.
Whoa.
And it's just like from the moment we start that morning, it's just energy, adrenaline going, having fun, creating a good atmosphere, not being a team leader in which you respect your crew, you respect their craft, and you try to lead with a positive energy so it doesn't, because I've worked shows where it's like long days and people are fucking brutal. It is no fun. I just refuse to either take work in that environment or create that environment. And if I have to, and if I find myself in that type of environment as a director, I make sure I do everything I can to buffer between the people behind me, normally the suits, right, and my crew. Right. My AD to my left, my technical director to my right, my script PA, my front deck. I try to buffer between my front deck and everything through the headset down to my crew to the floor, because I like to try to keep that atmosphere and that sense of community and camaraderie tight and positive because it makes for a better work day.
You want people to come to work at the end of the day. Well,
enjoy
not at the
themselves.
end of the day, at the start of the day. You want them to want to come in. So, that's you say that like-minded people gravitate towards each other. I'm not so incredibly calm to be a buffer. So I don't know what you see in me.
But even in that world, I've worked with what I call chaotic energy.
That's more me.
And there's another phrase I maybe say like order out of chaos. Right now, if you can have chaotic energy, which is complete like, I'm fucking crazy. Fuck you. Do what I say. Blah 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 blah. That type of, or you can have the chaotic energy of like, oh my God, this is great. I see this. I see that. What about this? What about that? Okay, hold on. Let's look at 1, and then let's look at 2. Look at 3. Okay, and then we're doing 1, 2, 3. Oh, what about 4, 5, 6? Okay, we don't have much time, but let's look at 5, and maybe we can tie 5 to 3. How about that? Oh, that would be awesome. So I've done that. I've had chaotic energy, which is so out of control. But when you embrace it a little bit and tie into it and let them see that you kind of understand a little bit, right? Because I've had a couple students who are on the autistic spectrum, and we'll be in class talking, and we'll be talking concepts, and all of a sudden they would interject and they would say something that was so far out of fucking left field, right? But I had to stop, and then I had to say, okay, where's that thought coming from? And how do I bring that thought to what we're doing in class? And if I can make that connection between that abstract thought, and sometimes they are very fucking abstract, but when you really break it down in relationship to the class we were teaching, production and coverage, I was able to take that abstract thought, turn it into a possible reality for how you can execute that, and it opened up another door of creativity. Because it challenged, and that it would challenge the other students to think like, oh my God, what is he talking about now? No, think about that for a second. If you did this, how could you do this happen to create that look for something like that? So with that chaotic energy, blah, 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 explosion, this, got to kind of rein it in a little bit because budget and time and all that, which they get, those people, those positions understand, because it always comes down to money. But at the same time, to tap into that vision, that energy, and to apply it, it kind of lends itself to some pretty cool things in a positive sense.
Would you find more is more in that sense. Like the more you have to work with, this is something Gareth and I are always butting heads about. I say more is more. The more I have to work with, I can edit it out, but I can't create footage or I can't create audio from something.
Okay. Here's the deal. Now that one, if you're looking for editing, it's always best to have extra to shoot, edit, trim. If you can
Game, set, match.
If you can control yourself to edit, to edit.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yes.
To leave it on the floor and not be in love with your stuff so much that you keep everything in. It's almost like 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. No, okay. Yeah. But to have the extra footage, then to get in the edit bay and not have it. But on the flip side, in honor of Gareth, I used to be, but it goes to 11, right? Yeah. From Spinal Tap, but it goes to 11. As I've gotten older, I've learned to appreciate the value of 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's almost like I used to be offended when people would want to edit my line cuts. How dare you want to edit my line cut? It's fucking brilliant. I'm so, blah, 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 blah. But then as I got older and mature and wiser and my vision opened up and I started to see the value of still doing a good line cut, cutting camera 1, ready 2, ready 3, ready 4, ready 5, ready 6, ready 7, ready 8. But now as I'm doing my line cut, creating that beautiful storyline, well, wait a minute. If I have 10 cameras and I only have 1 camera on the line at the time and the other 9 are searching for the other shots, while they're waiting, they could either be giving me something or putting something in ISO, right? Because if I'm doing a line cut, you have 1 record machine recording the line cut. If you have 10 cameras, then you have another 10 additional machines, what they call an ISO record, which is always recording camera 1, always recording 2, always recording 3, right? And then you have a clean or dirty. So if I'm doing a great line cut and we're recording it on our program record, and I'm ISO recording all the cameras, if I'm cutting from 1 to 2, then I might say, guys, hold a beat before you break for this shot, and I'm doing my line cut. But if I'm focusing on, say the center of the stage with cameras 4, 5, and 6, then I tell 8, 9, and 10, and 1, 2, 3 to do some other shots that I record in ISO. So that I started learning the value of the ISO record and things that weren't happening as I was doing my line cut. And then learning the value of 1 and 2. And then if it wasn't a live show, but it was something live to tape, then I made sure I would go back and have more things to, and see, it connects what Gareth is saying and what you're saying. You want more for the edit bay to edit. You like less is more. So if my line cut is less is more, but if I direct the cameras to give me extra while they're in ISO and recording that, when I get to the edit bay, not only do I have my line record, which I love, but then I have additional footage in my ISO channels that I could pull up, or I can extend the shot, or replace the shot for that one. So it really is a combination. Less is more, but have the footage. If you're willing to, less is more, edit and pull things out. And if you need it there, and then also, I like it when it goes to 11. Everything I used to crank up. I used to crank it all up. But then I learned how to turn it down a little bit, because sometimes that +1 is better. Sometimes that -1 is better than a +11 or +12.
Yeah.
If it works for that versus ego. If it's for the content that you're covering versus the ego.
Oh yeah, no, there's no ego here. Whoever's editing our episodes, at least an hour of me talking is getting cut, regardless.
Look,
so it doesn't matter who.
If we had an edit suite that was not me sitting up all night doing this shit, I wouldn't care how much content they got. Okay, weave your magic, but yeah, there's only so much time. But yeah.
Yes. Well, all right. Well, we'll move on then, because we'll move on to the albums that we've got this week.
Before we run out of time.
So run out of... Yes. Obviously, we're coming from 3 different locations as well. So the time and space continuum is going to implode on itself at some point.
Or breakfast, if you're me. So.
All right. What time is it there right now? It's 4:49 p.m. here.
It is 10 to 9 a.m. on Wednesday.
All right,
it's 10 to midday here. Anyways, we'll move on to the album. I can't think of a good segue, but we're talking about something and all that. Gareth,
Yes.
you gave us both. I think Jonathan might have listened to this album, Testament.
Wow.
Titans of Creation, which was it was an album. That's all I can say.
Well, that was short and sweet.
Well, yeah, you wish, honey. So would you like to hear my review?
Okay. Yep.
So when I first saw the cover, I was like, yep, that's a metal album cover, and proceeded to pop the needle on the Spotify. Instantly, my poor, constantly abused ears were met with another classically 80s inspired thrash album, which yet again sounded like it was designed to appeal to the self-hating set. While the opening song, Children of the Next Level, played, I was disappointed to find that it wasn't about today's culture of video gaming, but was pleased to find that it's actually about the classic 1980s cinematic bomb, Heaven's Gate. I mean, yet again, I can hear the influences, and neither this song nor the follow-up, World War II, left me for dead. But the 80s power rock sound of Dream Deceiver might have a place among a theme in the dream-conceived Wayne's World 3, which we'll sadly probably never get to see. The more I listen to this song, the more I'd love to hear a mashup crossed with Dreamweaver. Pause for face punching. There you go, Gareth. You got a free shot. You're not going to take it?
No.
No. Oh, bugger.
Yeah.
I set you up for that one. Next time I might bite back.
No, I agree. I love that song.
Dreamweaver. I thought you would hate it.
No, it's a classic. It was in Wayne's World. Come on. This is Dream Sequence. I'm not fighting you on Wayne's World pop culture references. No way.
Right, yeah. I don't know metal, but I know Wayne's World. But yet again, something weird happened. I swear to God, on my screen, I read the words Queen of the Underworld, but apparently no such song exists. I'm genuinely starting to think that all this devil music is starting to mess with my mind, which is only confirmed by the fact that every time I hear machine guns, I say, cool drum solo, bro, without realizing. So far, at least 3 songs have appeared on the Xbox menu Spotify controls thingy under different names. The last time being the pandemic epidemic nonsense. The Queen of the Underworld is a long song title to get wrong, and yet none of these meh songs bear that name. None are even called Persephone. Is something wrong with me? Or is it the devil music? Speaking of which, I've always found poets to be the greatest punishment Satan ever sent to Earth. No offense, Gareth.
Wow.
And it seems this 2020 effort from a 34-year-old band had 2 modes. Either it was, I'm half screaming all serious and you are listening, with the thrash unclean vocals, or it was the poetic yet slightly pretentious lyrics that left me feeling unclean. Either way, it got dirty. And every time I went to listen to the album, I kept wondering why I heard bands like Sepultura, Skid Row, and Creed, but have never heard of Testament. And the conclusion I came to every time the CD stopped was perhaps they came across as rather too influenced by those who came before them, which is fine when listening to expendable pop. I can jump from Backstreet Boys to NSYNC to 5 in 3 basic chords, but those lyrics aren't trying to be poetic, nor is that music trying to relate to people who may have a chip on their shoulder. And I felt like this band needed to focus more on who they are as artists and not how they can serve a genre which they are very talented at. I stretch that point. They are not lacking in talent, nor are they lacking in inspiration, but I say scrap the talent. No, sorry, hang on, let me take that again. But I say keep the talent, scrap the inspiration. A song like City of Angels, which was clearly named after my place of birth, spends half of its time appealing to the emo crowd, the rest of the time feeling like it's trying to break free of those constraints. I didn't hate this album, but I also didn't love it. And after last week's epic reaction, which has been described as epic by even my standards, I did find the jump back to standard metal topics like Egyptian gods, world wars, and Babylonian codes to be a slight relief. The latter, the code of Hammurabi, refers to a 3,700-year-old set of laws as chiseled into a piece of rock found at the turn of last century. Laws which were enacted some 1,200 years before Ishtar's Gate, as per track 6 of this somewhat vanilla album. These are topics that interest me in general, so it's disappointing that even though he is half screaming all serious, but I could not understand. 2.5 stars, much better than last week, which is an extremely low bar. If this is what metal poets sound like, the world is thankful you won't share your videos, Gareth. Alrighty.
Wow.
So what did we think of the album?
I can't believe you put Creed and Testament in the same in the same sentence.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm a bastard. I know.
I'm okay with Skid Row, but yeah, not Creed.
Yeah, you surprised I know Skid Row?
I'm surprised you know anything sometimes, to be honest.
Oh,
That's all right.
ouch.
You weren't supposed to love it.
I know.
It's not
Well,
the point.
look, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it.
No, that's a shame.
It's a sound I've heard so many times before.
Well, you know,
That's the problem.
Testament came out of the Bay Area like Exodus and like Death Angel and Metallica, and so yeah, I mean they're if there's a big four of thrash, Testament's in the big five, in the big six, so you know, and they've kind of stuck.
And how have I not heard of them? How have I not heard of this band?
Because you listen to musical theatre.
Ouch.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those.
So do you.
Yeah.
So do you now. Thank you very much. So that's not an argument.
My head hurts.
How have I not heard it? It's like there's some female singer. I can't even remember her name. It's like Kelly G or something like. I don't know. She had like a ton of pop hits in the 80s. How have I not heard of her? I love my 80s pop divas.
I don't know.
You know, but she had like 10, 15 number ones. I can't remember her name. That's how much she's unknown in Australia, but has had all these number one hits in America. How is she not known here?
Know.
And how is this band not known here? Is it that they're just not unique enough?
I want to throw it to our guest, Jonathan. Were you aware of Testament before this album landed in your inbox?
No.
Okay.
See?
I'm two from
See
two
my
then.
point.
No.
But I bet you've heard of Megadeth and Pantera.
Yes.
Yes. See?
But I have to admit, the album cover is kind of cool, right? And I did listen to a couple of the tracks of the ones I listened to. I think World War III and maybe Night of the Witch, because I listen. I'm not gonna lie. I love all genres of music. There's not one genre of music globally, international music, American music, whatever. When I travel, when I work, I make a point to listen to local radio, right? And make sure I listen to whatever the locals are listening to as much as possible, as long as it's not American pop music, right? The flavor.
Oh,
so when you hear that opening riffs and the double drumming and the get your boys coming in, you know, then it's from that. It's like, you know, whatever. It's like thrash movie. It's like thrash music, you know, something like that. You know, bang your head in, and here, you know, drink Budweiser and do crystal meth.
Yeah. Like-minded people are attracted to each other.
Only one of those things have I tried.
I'm going to use my imagination and guess which one it was. Yes, look, at least I know I'm not alone in that, because there is as a I guess a troglodyte in the world of metal. I am a caveman. I know nothing. Right? I am Neolithic, so I am learning, and I'm trying to connect with a lot of these songs, but. And listen to the stories without having to Google the lyrics and get these awful websites that come up with 50 bloody spam ads when you're on them, because that drives me nuts, for crying out loud. Stop doing that shit, people. Oh, I won't rant. Sorry. And I can't connect with that. I can't. It feels like they're shouting at me. And if I want that, I would go have a conversation with my parents. So it sort of leaves me.
Hi, Mum and Dad.
Dude, I'm not telling him about this podcast.
Look, I don't think that the lyrics, and with all due respect to the boys, I don't think the lyrics take a lot of Googling. They're pretty upfront. I mean, I didn't get your Heaven's Gate joke, because that's about I don't know, was there a movie called Heaven's Gate? Because that's about the Heaven's Gate cult. That's what the song is about. The song's not about the movie.
I know that was the joke.
I didn't know there was a Heaven's Gate movie. There you go. Okay.
Yes.
So
the joke was because I'm so stupid, and you know, me being all pop culture.
Here's an interesting, sad kind of tragic tie-in. When this album came out on the 4th of April last year, half the band came down with COVID, and Chuck Billy, it kind of hit him pretty hard. And I met him. He's a big guy, and he looks like, you know, a truck wouldn't hurt him, but yeah, it knocked him, and it was a little bit, it was concerning there for a little while. So it's just weird to think that was April, and here we are. So I don't know what they wrote that angry shit without a global pandemic. So I don't know what lyrics they've come up with if they're working on a new album for this year. So there'll be a lot of.
Were the songs angry, or is his voice?
Oh, look, both. Yeah, it suits them. His voice suits the music. So, you know.
Well, I didn't really find angry songs.
Well, I mean,
Obviously, the music.
Okay,
yes.
so maybe not so much angry songs,
Oh,
but there's
that reminds me.
dark themes.
Okay.
So
yeah, well, yeah, and that's to be expected from metal, which is the whole point of pointing out that the cliche standard topics that you will find in metal, which is fine by me. And a lot of those things interest me. And that's when I go down Wikipedia rabbit holes. I usually start off at Mesopotamia and end up at bloody Spice Girls or something like that. So that's what happens on there. But one song in particular was actually their final song. Shows their potential if they were to, like Trent Reznor composers. Oh, don't you always think the worst of me every week?
No, you just mentioned Trent Reznor. That's okay.
Well, it's Reznor, sorry, Aussie bogan accent.
No,
it's pronounced Reznor, so I'm going to say it how it's pronounced, how it's written. Trent Reznor. There you go, in a bogan accent.
You got to Aussie it up, mate.
Yeah, mate. Trent Reznor, he now composes, well, has done for a while, composes film music. Yeah. And Concubine at the end of it, is it called?
Catacombs.
Or am I... Catacombs. Now, that time I didn't read it wrong. Okay. I got it wrong. I'll admit to that one. That sounded like a film score.
Okay. Yeah, that's a big tick.
That's a compliment. I feel really, see what I mean? Like it left me feeling unclean. So
why do I like this final song?
Dirty. Yeah.
Don't make me like it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to put it on any playlist, but
that's all right.
It showed their potential, and that's
the boys would be glad to know that after
I was going to say
years,
they're like 50.
They finally got potential. You have potential to be great.
From some dickhead who knows nothing about metal music. Yeah. I'm sure they're hanging on to my every word. Jeez. But yeah, look, in terms of them like I as I say, I didn't hear their identity. Like, again, going back to Body Count, a song of theirs comes on, I know it's Body Count. A Guns N' Roses song comes on, I know it's Guns N' Roses. I mean, okay, Axl Rose's voice is maybe particular, but they do have a particular sound in their music. I didn't hear something that made me go, this is Testament. But then again, I don't have their previous work to look at. So I don't.
Yeah, I mean, they within the genre, they do have a sound.
Vanilla.
But as someone once told me, all music that you hate sounds the same. And I'm like, yep. So
well, that's true.
Well, see, and when you talk about pop music, when I hear throwaway pop music, which seems to be constantly on the charts lately, it just still sounds. My kids are listening to it. I'm going, what? Who is this? Because it sounds like the last one. And they go, yeah, Dad, your music sounds the same too. So,
but that's fine. I could, as I said in my review, I can go from listening to all my pop divas, and a lot of them do sound the same, and that's no problems. The songs generally have enough of a hook for me to keep coming back to them. But that's a solo singer a lot of the times. This is a band, so therefore they should be creating their own sound. I think. I'm not going to lecture them. I'm not going to tell them how to do their jobs or anything
they'll
like
just
that.
tell you to fuck off.
And then I will reply with, as long as you buy me dinner first.
Yeah.
So yeah, no.
Okay. So just
it was okay. It was okay.
It was just a nothing one. Oh.
It was an album. It was there. There was nothing that, like, there was no song. You know, when sometimes like it'll be an album and there'll be like 10 tracks and 9 of them are stinkers, and there'll be that one song that you keep going back to. You'll buy the album just for that one song. I can't think of anything in particular. Okay, just think of any one-hit wonder, I guess.
Yeah. The Knack. Everyone who bought the Knack.
The Knack.
Based on My Sharona is going, what are the rest of this? Although the rest of the album wasn't bad, but yeah.
Well, I've actually have you heard the 2020 version of My Sharona?
No.
What, My Corona?
Oh, My Corona.
Yeah.
Ouch.
There was somebody who did a parody. Oh God, now I can't think of it. I'm so sorry. It was another parody song, but it was I can't, the Atlanta group, the hip hop group out of Atlanta, and Hey Now, they did Hey Now. And
Outkast.
Yeah,
Outkast. Yeah, there was an Outkast parody. It was really, really good. But let's just one reference to what you were saying about the music that you hate sounds the same. The music that you love sounds the same. There's something that I do. I call it the rhythm of life. And like you, Gareth, I'm sure did you look at the Ozzy clip that I directed, the Ozzy Osbourne stuff?
No,
by
I
chance?
did. I don't know if
okay. I didn't.
So
I didn't actually get sent that, Jonathan. So I'm gonna need to talk to someone about that.
I sent you all these videos. Thank you very much.
Did you?
Yes.
I didn't get an Aussie clip. What Aussie clip? Because I've probably seen it if it's Aussie.
It was in there.
It's when you performed at BlizzCon.
Okay.
But here's something: no matter what genre of music, and I call it the rhythm of life. Like that Ozzy one, I did not get a chance to do a rehearsal. It was BlizzCon. It was like 2 11-hour days broadcast. And then at the end of the second day, they had a concert. So they did a sound check like the night before. I was already off the air. But it's like timing, right? Music. If I went to go see Testament and I had to walk right in, maybe not knowing their stage movement, but listening to the music, I could cut it based upon the rhythm of life, the timing of music, the hits, the solos, the drops. If I was doing theater and listening to the songs and the music and the composing and the movement and the flow, I might not know all the stage movement. I would have to figure that out and maybe bail out to my wide shot a lot, but I could find the patterns and hit. The same with orchestra. I might not be able to find the lead piccolo or the lead violinist for their solo, but I can see possibly where it comes and how it sustains and works out. So no matter what, all genres of music kind of gives me that rhythm, what I call the rhythm of life, where I can find it and tap into it and then go off the music, be it country, bluegrass, blues, rock, heavy metal, speed metal, death metal, R&B, soul, hip hop, I can just find those patterns and just roll with it. So I think for all human beings, if we open up our ear and tap into that, we can pretty much find something that we can hook into no matter what we listen to.
Yeah.
That's sort of the point of our show, is both of us to open our minds to genres that we aren't typically into, and obviously it's hard. It's not easy.
I thought it was just here to piss me off.
Well, there's that too, but also I have an evil plan of world domination that I'm trying to enact. So
via musical theatre,
via musical theatre and Broadway. But that's one thing I've always noticed about your work, Jonathan, is that there is a rhythm to it, that I see it, and that's why I think I've always said to you yourself that I would love you to jump into narrative, because I would love to see what you do with a musical movie or even one of these NBC live productions that they do. For you to be helming that, I'd pay money to see that. And I don't watch TV very often.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Would you say a lot of that's to do with your childhood? And I know you've told stories, even to me. We had an interview for our listeners at home. We had an interview probably about 7 years ago, I think it was, for my website. And that's still on my dead computer, which is underneath my desk, filled with dust that I can't get. But that's an amazing interview that I'm so disappointed to have lost. So I'm rapt to have you on the show to at least scrounge and salvage the tiniest bit of that. But I believe some of the stories you told me were sort of growing up, your parents listening to music and sort of the influence that had on you and your art sort of growing up. Would you say that sort of expands to your photography as well? Because I know actually you're going back to learn music, go back to school to learn music now.
Yeah. Basically, it's been really hard here in America for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, really hard. And there's some talking points that I hope will die once we're out of this. And one being, people who love their employer-based healthcare, because some people lost their job and lost their healthcare, and people fighting for a decent living wage, because the people who are keeping the wheels turning are all the people that some Americans laughed at as they try to fight for $15 an hour wage, right? But for me, I've been very blessed to work out of the house, to have broadband, to do some work, to take care of my family and everybody. My daughter came home after the first couple of weeks, so I have all my kids and my wife. We're all together, the pets. Thankfully, I make a joke that, after 2 decades of homeschooling and watching every episode of The Walking Dead, who knew that it would prepare us for this? Because we hunker down, we're together, we love each other, we don't get on each other's nerves, everybody has their space, we hang in there, we have protocol and routines, and so far we've been safe, and I've been able to do a couple projects from home and keep us afloat and everything like that. So I count my blessings. But on the flip side, not to sound elitist, but I've been using my time to do art, like I've been doing doing my old photography, scanning all my old negatives, from the 70s and 80s, scanning photographs, posting things, living in the past while looking towards the future. And then I've always, like when I was a kid, I used to order the Berklee School of music catalog just to look at all the classes that they offered, dreaming one day of going to like Berklee School of Music and blah, blah, blah. But I sucked. I was bad at music theory. I was bad at everything. So I never, that never happened. But I always dreamt about it. But recently I found a catalog from 1975 because I'm a hoarder, that I had on my bookshelf, that I had from like my junior high days or high school days. And so I basically went online and I'm taking an Ableton class to learn Ableton digital audio workstation and introduction to electronic music. Because what I'm going to do is, if you see over this shoulder, like all up there, right?
Yeah.
Those are all from my punk rock days when I used to do all the recording of music. And so what my goal is to digitize all those reels of music that I have, and then redo analog MIDI mixers, and then add it to over here on this side. You see all my tapes of video art and things I've done over the decades. So then do remixes of all video art and music, and then tie it all together. So, and then, maybe do some streaming of like art projects. And as I get close to retirement, be a performance artist. Because now that I'm getting older, I have more shit to say. I have archival footage, to share with the young bloods. So that's the concept. That's the goal. So yeah, all that plays into it. The music as a youth, taking time now to remodify, live in the past, but live for the future. And everything that I've ever done has been an influence, Everything all of us ever do is a reflection of our experiences. I mean, our entire lives are a reflection of our collective experience. And it comes out in what we're doing today and what we'll do tomorrow.
Yeah. And you have had such a vast, amazing life so far. One thing last time you said to me, and sort of growing up, you grew up through such a rough time in America for African Americans. So then last time we spoke, you said something to me that since then has gone through my head constantly, because when you highlighted it to me, I saw it happen in real life. I noticed it, and that was the term bigotry of expectations.
Of low expectations.
Sorry? That's it.
The bigotry of low expectations.
Yes, that's it. And that's something, because that's something I get from my own dad. That's not even anything to do with race or anything like that. That's just he doesn't like me. So he has very low expectations for me. And my co-host here, Gareth, every time I open my mouth, you see the look on his face. Oh God, what's he gonna say now? That's the bigotry of low expectations.
No, that's mine's expectation reality, and I'm just trying to pull them together.
But what advice would you give to young artists today who are very much something I've gone on about is art as activism. Art is already activism, and I'm happy for that. And the musical I've chosen this week will no doubt be accused of being political by my co-host here, but I have a defense for that. Anyways, what advice would you give to people who are sort of putting that activism first and foremost, and sort of relating it back to that bigotry of low expectations? Because I like a lot of society now don't have those low expectations because people are standing up. They're being vocal, so we have no choice but to have proper expectations for them. So what advice would you give to them sort of coming up in industry, and how to handle that artist and an activist balance?
Well, I think anytime you kind of live your truth, your value, you're always going to be considered by some activists, but it doesn't really matter. I tell people to, as you travel your journey, your path, because every path is different. Everyone, I stress for all the young bloods and even the elders that I talk to, or the people that my age who are still frustrated about whatever, be who you are, be true to yourself, right? And when you run into people who are an asshole, right? Whatever you do, do not stop in your position, right? I say you go through them, you go to the left, the right, above, below, through, but whatever you do, do not stand still and give them real estate in your heart and your efforts in your mind, because that person's going on to the next person and being an asshole towards them. And it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with them. So if you live up to a person's bigotry of low expectations, then you empower them to succeed and blocking you in achieving what you want to do. Now, people talk about STEM, right? Science, technology, engineering, math. But I say add A to that. Make it STEAM, because the arts are just as important for creativity and thinking outside of the box. So now if they tie that into my philosophy and my preaching about the art of collaboration, as they develop who they are, their vision, their path, they're creative, what they want to be, what they want to do, and they start networking, because networking is everything. Because no matter, listen, if you're a writer, yeah, it's just you in your mind, a pen and a paper. But even then, we're still a community, because great writers observe, right? They observe and they interpret and they, so, but for everything else, all our creatives, it is a sense of collaboration. So as you're building your team, as you're working on that, as you're collaborating and creating, then you'll find your voice, right? Your voice. And then you'll just execute that voice and just be who you are and just follow your path and know that I know there's a bunch of cliches. Oh, it's not, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, but it's a journey. And I always stress, and this is something that a professor at Wichita State told me, he says, have the goal, but don't make that your primary focus. Make sure you enjoy every step forward and every step back and every step forward. Appreciate that journey from where you are now for tomorrow when you reach that. Because once you reach that top, then you're going to be dissatisfied. You want the next thing. But as you appreciate your path and the work that it takes to get there, you'll have more value to that accomplishment as you're setting your sights on your next move, what you're going to do next. So overall, don't stay in your place. You're going to run into people that are negative. Don't empower them to slow you down from trying to achieve what you want to do. Do your thing regardless. Always work towards it. And as you start networking and collaborating and working on your craft, it's going to be bumpy. There's people skills. There's, dealing with people, communication, all the stuff, it's just part of life. You got to work with it. You got to work with those skill sets, deal with it, and know that everybody's different, and that's okay, and that's cool. That just makes it even more better to have so much different points of view for creativity. But I just say, just do it, be it, believe in yourself. I'm a firm believer that there's a certain degree of ignorance is bliss. If you know that, if you don't know that everyone hates you, that's fucking awesome. Just keep going. Just keep going and keep walking. And if people are dissing you or are putting you down or whatever it may be, fuck them. Keep going. Whistle. Look at the beautiful sky. Look at the birds. Do your thing. Keep going. And if people try to block you, keep going. Don't worry about it. It's them. It has nothing to do with you. Keep doing your thing. So that's what I really try to stress to the students, and that is just a value of self and goals and dreams, because that's important. I mean, I'm 63 and I'm still dreaming about doing stuff over the next 10 years if time permits, which is our greatest asset as we get older.
I absolutely admire about you, because as I say, you have accomplished so much, and yet you're actually willing to go back to school, something that I run away from myself. But it doesn't matter. You say the humans won't ever be satisfied. It is true. You've worked with all these. You've worked with Ozzy Osbourne and Blink-182 and all these amazing people. You've technically directed the Oscars and stuff like that.
Well, let me clarify. I didn't. Well, wait a minute. When I was a technical director, I technical directed the pre-show and the post-show. I didn't do the main show. Now, for the main show, I did have the opportunity. I stopped TDing the Oscar pre-show because I had the opportunity to direct the Spirit Awards pre-show.
Yeah.
And that's when I left that. And then I started doing some other things, directing for the Oscars, which was the SciTech Awards, the Governor's Awards, and the nomination show.
That's right. Well, your name comes up in the Oscars credits.
Exactly.
That counts. So take the credit, nod and smile, and say, yes, I've technically directed the Oscars.
Yes, one year I did get a single page credit, and I almost died.
Yeah, I think that was the I think I tweeted you afterwards, and I'm like, hey,
that was a single pager.
Yeah,
that was a big deal. I don't know who was doing graphics that year, but I still owe them dinner.
In terms of award shows, are you guys looking for the most pissed off losing reaction possible?
Okay,
I hope so.
Yeah.
Tell me yes.
Okay, I have worked on a couple where they made adjustments to the winner based upon who was there.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to say which one, but it wasn't one of the majors. Fuck it, give it to so and so because they're here. I've seen that. I've been on some of those.
The Raspberries do that, actually.
Most people, they know they're going to be on camera if you're doing a multi-box effect. They're stoic. They don't really do the disappointment. Maybe the person they're with might show more emotion. So if you, instead of doing a single, you might want to do a 2-shot or a 3-shot to show the disappointment in the significant other or the family member. But they're all really pretty good about hiding their disappointment and fake joy for the other person. They applause and all that.
That's true. They are paid to be fake, aren't they?
Alrighty, we're going to jump to a quick ad break to hear from our friends and sponsors. We'll be back in a moment.
Coming this summer, winter, spring, or fall, the first ever musical theater sitcom, where you go behind the scenes of the latest West End show, the Foo Fighters Ballet.
Where's the important stuff? Aha! £1,000 a week ensemble rate. That's what Mamma Mia likes.
Starring Philip Joel and a West End cast featuring Kerry Ellis, Darren Day, Louise Demon, and Oliver Saville, and more.
It all started in 1987 when I was a jobbing actress working in a diner.
Yeah, it's just I had a really bad experience when I was touring Australia with a wombat.
Darling! Mwah, mwah.
La, la.
How long have I been mentoring you? 3 months?
2 years.
So her name is Henrietta.
The horse. Yes. I've managed to secure you an audition for the biggest, most innovative, and the latest show to be going into the West End. Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat. Think more along the lines of Panto.
Frozen.
You can watch this episode for the price of a coffee. Simply go to www.thefossyforestballet.com. Any and all profits go back to theatre charities, acting for others, and the theatre's trust. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and you'll see a grown man in sparkly tights.
Tight nights. Nice. Tights.
Move on then, since we're on the topic of actors, because obviously I gave Gareth another one of my favorite shows this week, which is just a fun little non-political, insignificant show that has absolutely no depth to it at all.
Oh, you've read my review already?
No, I haven't. I just being a total smartass
because I didn't read it. So you gave me because you're an asshole. You gave me this twice.
Yes.
So I got Assassins, the original off-Broadway recording, and then I got Assassins, the Broadway recording. So I don't know why you wanted me to listen to this twice. Actually, I do know, it's because you're an asshole.
You gave me the Titanic of metal albums. That fucking shit went for 67 minutes or something like that.
Which one?
That Testament album.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Testament. And after last week's effort, whatever that was,
a little bit of southern rap rock does everyone a bit good. Anyway,
you deserved 2 CDs.
Yeah, moving on. Okay. So Assassins, as usual, I had never heard of this. I had no idea what it was. I didn't know it existed. And then I started listening to it. And again, this is Stephen Sondheim, and he keeps coming up in this podcast.
He is
and
a
he's
legend, that's why.
He's pretty smart. He's pretty clever. Lyrically, he's very, very clever. I'm gonna give him that. You know, the music's not to my taste, but hey, it suits the story. So this is essentially a bunch of this is America through the ages, starting with John Wilkes Booth and ending with, and I can't remember the guy who had a crack at Reagan. I can't remember his name. This is people who have
Hinckley.
This is Hinckley. Sorry, John Hinckley. Yeah.
We mentioned him in the Bugsy Malone episode. Remember, he had a crush on Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
And stalked her.
Yeah, that's
and she won't talk about it now.
No,
she,
that's right.
I read up on that. She will not face up to it.
And so, and then there's a bunch of people. There's this whole list of either assassins or would-be assassins.
Yeah.
As I said, starting with John Wilkes Booth. What a really interesting premise. Why you would write a musical with, you know, Lee Harvey Oswald and John Hinckley and John Wilkes Booth and all these other guys. So that was a little bit jarring and interesting.
And not only that, where are they?
Here's the thing, they're kind of all together, and they start out, look, I think, I didn't do a hell of a lot of research into this because I didn't get a lot of time.
I'm not surprised.
No.
Yeah.
They start out in a gun shop, and they're literally being sold guns to go and kill the president.
No.
Yeah, they did. That's what I heard. This is my interpretation.
Okay. They're at the whole show set at a carnival.
Okay. All right. That explains some of the carny music then.
Yes.
Anyway,
how did you not get that from the carny music that the show opens with?
Because musical theatre confuses me, and I don't know what any of it happens. So, okay. So we've got this whole rogues gallery, and they kind of all exist at in the same time. And there's so
they're at a carnival.
There's presidents. Okay, they're at the carnival where most presidents should be because they're clowns. The most jarring thing about this is, and with all respect to Jonathan, that's just fucked up. The amount of times that your presidents have been shot at or shot.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I
think we might have to
I don't.
It's interesting. I got some American friends. They're actually renting a house off us. And they're from Houston, and we went and saw them the other day just before Christmas, and said they go down the shops and people will say, "What is it with your president?" And they're like, "Not my president, not my president." So yeah, it was kind of funny.
Well, it's a big difference. I tell you what. Listen, my friends who travel now, it's brutal, right? Back during the end of the Obama administration, I remember I was in Brussels and we're walking through the market and all the lookers were looking at me. And I know it was, I'm not going to say it was a little racist, but it was like, they were like, "Hey, Obama." I was like, why are you yelling Obama at me, dude? I know I'm the only black guy with my crew. And all the people in the restaurants who are, trying to get people to come over there, they were, "Hey, Obama." I was like, oh, fuck, man. But it's better than having shit thrown at you, I guess.
Yeah. It's funny. I was in 3 years ago. I was in Europe, and we were doing this tour in Germany with and there was 2 Americans on it, and they sort of said, "You're Australian, so we can say this. We tell everyone we're Canadian. We're just right now." So, and I'm like, that's kind of sad and funny at the same time. So, and the people that don't know, they don't know the difference. So
no, you got because you'll get. Listen, and that's one of the things where now, I know we're just digressing off the theater aspect, but when I travel, I listen to local radio, I watch local television, and when I take the cab and bus, I sit up front and I engage in conversation. And I get them to tell me their stories, especially if they're immigrants in that new country, when they came there, how long they've been there, how things are going, how's it, adapting, and their stories, and healthcare, this, and it's just, and that's something else. You talked about the young people as they develop their craft and their skill. When they reach out, don't hesitate to talk and engage. Right? We said writers observe. Directors live. I heard one, I can't remember, I think it was one director said, if you really want to be a director, you're never bored because you're always watching, you're always looking. Space, movement, color, sound, light, this, and the most mundane daily things. And then when you start incorporating into stuff you do, you apply those interpretations, right? And the same thing, as much as I shoot photography and post photography, sometimes I look at images when I'm working in the studio or during the show. I go like, "Oh, truck left a little bit more. Okay, drop your ped a little bit, go a little low angle, look at this, hold here, see if you can move from here to here." And because I'm thinking this, a Robert Frank photograph, or Gordon Parks or something, or a photograph that I like, that composition, it might not be true center, but a little offset with something in the background. So art influences everything. Life influences everything. All right, now back to theater. Sorry.
Back. No, that's cool. That was far more intelligent than anything I'm about to say anyway. So, okay. So I got two recordings of this. The first one is only 9 songs on it. It's 56 minutes. Feels like twice that. It feels like June.
Oh, nonsense.
Most, and because I don't know anything about musical theatre, but most musicals that I've been subjected to so far have a lot of songs and they're quite short and sharp, and there's 2 or 3 minutes and then you move on to the next one. This one's got some really long songs. I mean, the opening number is 6 minutes. The second one, the Ballad of John Wilkes Booth, is over 9 minutes long. And if I'm going to compare the two, I think the Broadway recording is much better because there's now 15 songs. It's a lot shorter. It's a lot sharper. I think it flows much better. There's a really interesting thing on the off-Broadway. There's this dialogue, which it's actually genius. It's brilliant dialogue. But it goes on for nearly 11 minutes. Yeah. And there's a whole bunch of people
1964.
Yeah, November 22, 1963. I don't know.
So when was JFK shot? That's when it is.
Yeah, I know it was 1 p.m. in Dallas. So it was, 22/11/63. Yep. Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
So there's John Wilkes Booth talking to Lee Harvey Oswald, and he's telling him all about his life and who he is. And it's actually, as I said, it's absolute genius. The weird thing about it is you've got this 11-minute chunk of dialogue right near the end of what is musical theatre. And normally when I'm listening or watching one of these things, I just wondered, would you just shut up, stop singing, and just stop singing. But this one, I thought that's kind of weird. Why would you chuck a big load of as good as the dialogue was? It's on its own, it could be a fascinating short story. I thought that was kind of, why would you do that? And in the Broadway cast recording, it's gone.
They cut most of it out.
They've cut it down to like 3 minutes or something. And then you've got 15 songs and you're back to that, apart from the opening number, which is still, the opening 2 numbers, which are still quite long. The rest of it is really short, sharp, and it flows so much better. And the new one's got Neil Patrick Harris in it. And I still hear, when he's singing, I still kind of hear Doogie Howser. So that was kind of, but that's just me. That's me.
That is you.
But it's such a bizarre idea. I just, when you're sitting in front of someone, now if someone sat in front of me and they were pitching, I want to make a musical about people who have either killed or shot at, elected presidents of the United States, I would go, okay, you need to come back with something a little bit more, that's crazy. Someone's going to burn down the theater. Get the hell out of here. And there's this really interesting bit where, and the song, as they do with so many musical theaters, it starts with one song and then finishes with the same damn song, slightly different. Everyone's got the right, and I might have got this wrong, but they're literally saying everyone's got the right to want to be the president, and if you can't do that, you can want to kill a president. Did I miss that? Have I just completely missed that? Because that was just, maybe that's just what I heard because I was...
Maybe for those characters or people, I'm not sure. I've never really thought of it like that.
To me, it was like, you can dream. So dream to be a president, or you can dream to be a psychopath.
In America, you can be anything you want to be. That's the idea that they're selling. That is the idea that America sells, and these people felt burnt or whatever done by. One of them had a sore stomach, Giuseppe Zangara, and so he decided to shoot.
Giuseppe is the most bizarre out of everyone because he's this short dude who missed Roosevelt because he was standing on a chair and the chair wasn't very stable, and he wasn't a great shot. It's just...
But that song, How I Saved Roosevelt, is that not a fantastic song?
Yeah, look, there's...
Lucky I Was There.
Look, the lyrically, as I said, lyrically, it's so clever and really, it kept me interested, even though I had to, I only listened to the first one once, because to me, if you'd have just given me that one, I would have turned around and said, this thing's got so much potential. It should just be cut a bit different and essentially, which is what they did with the second one. So
yeah, they drew out the comedy a little bit more. The characterizations a little bit over the top.
Yeah.
Now, don't forget, both of these productions were put out at times when there was a Bush president in power.
Who's in hindsight wasn't that bad. Anyway.
No, but don't forget there are 2 asses in Assassins.
Yes. Yeah.
So
yeah. Well,
that's probably why.
There was a little look. I kind of got this. There's almost a little bit of both sides in this musical. There's not a strong one way or the other, which is kind of, and I'm waiting for the big strong anti-gun message, which isn't there, but that's okay. That's just an Aussie thing.
No, instead it's what a wonder is a gun. What a wonderful invention. They basically orgasm over the guns.
As Steve L once said, the devil's right hand. But look,
a lot of people walk out of this show.
Really?
Because they find especially a lot of older people.
Okay.
Local companies that sometimes very hesitant to do it because it's very polarizing. A lot of people will see it as immediately celebrating these acts of murder, or even then, presidents aren't murdered, are they? They're assassinated. So, but I don't personally think it is. I think it is exploring the psyches of these characters, and like our last guest, Alison Fraser, said, we're not meant to like the main character of every musical.
Yeah.
So why not explore the psyches of psychopaths who have actually dented their country's history in one way or another? They've stuck out or stood out because of that reason.
Yeah. The most interesting thing about that is there is no common theme apart from they wanted to shoot the president. Every one of these nut jobs had their own agenda and their own reasons for doing it, and it wasn't always political.
No.
So it's I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the black comedy of it, the dark humor. There was some stuff there that's and it's entertaining. It's supposed to be entertaining. So if you're going to walk out on it, maybe you shouldn't have walked in on it in the first place. So read the read the program before you go in, and let's not ban the book before you read it. So I'm going to give it. I'm giving it. I'm splitting it down the middle. I'm going to give it 3 out of 5.
3.
I'm giving it 3 out. Only because you gave me
It's a bit weak.
You made me listen to it twice. You gave me 2 versions. You should have just sucked it up. If you'd have given me the first version. Having said that, that dialogue,
the first version has
I still go with that dialogue, that 10-minute dialogue of in the first version. Like I said, that I thought that was so well written, and it was such a visual thing. Just hearing it, you could, that was brilliant. So there we
I don't
go.
know. It sounds like you want to give it higher than a 3.
That's to me.
If something makes you think, right, and really question, then it did its job. I think you really want to do at least a 4.
I'm giving it.
Yeah.
All right. You're calling me on my bullshit, Jonathan. I'm giving it a 4.
Because you're waxing philosophical about a fucking theater performance and the meaning behind it. Whereas we couldn't do the same thing with whatever Testament,
whatever shit I gave you.
Exactly. So you kind of went from high school to grad school in your reviews.
Yeah. No, I totally.
All right. It gets a 4.
We need you on the show more often.
Yeah.
Yeah. The funny thing is, you say that there is no connective thread between the people. That's not true because
I didn't say that.
John, you did a couple of minutes ago.
No, I did not.
There's not really any connective.
No, their motives are all.
Well, whatever you said.
The motives are different, and it's not. As I said, it's not all political, even though they're shooting politicians.
Yeah. Well, that's what you said. So I'll say that now, and then But there is the one ballad in the show, "Unworthy of Your Love," which is John Hinckley Jr. singing to Jodie Foster, whilst Lynette Squeaky Fromm sings to Charles Manson. So there is that sort of that, but there's sort of like that love story, but these two intersecting characters that don't really intersect in a way, but kind of do, but they've been put into this song to intersect, to be singing to their potential loved ones that aren't actually each other.
Yeah.
Which is odd for a musical, because usually there is a ballad between the romantic leads. And that's one ballad that I don't hate.
I love ballads.
I don't hate it. Oh,
you know what? This is something that wouldn't. And every time I listen to a musical, and I've said this in the past, and I said it with Sweeney Todd, that'll make a great movie, just a straight movie. I don't think you could make this into a movie and make it make it have any sense at all. It absolutely works on Broadway, but I don't think it'd work. It wouldn't work in the cinema. Which is kind of
look, I've seen 2 productions of it. One of them was fantastic, and the other one was a production. And it is seeing it live is absolutely fantastic. I would love to see it professionally. However, when I think I was 11 years old, my second year of theatre or my first year of theatre, my theatre company did it. Right. And I wasn't allowed to audition because I was considered too immature.
That's a fair call.
Because remember, I've told you on this show that I used to talk out of line. I used to be a smartass and used to play up at theatre.
You keep saying used to.
Shut up. Anyways, so my acting teacher didn't think I would be mature enough to audition for the part of Sarah Moore's son. So she told 2 people who were 2 years fucking younger than me to audition for the part. Two boys who were both the oldest in their family, so they didn't have an older brother and sister putting on shit like Shocking Asia at 4 years old. Like, I tell you what, some of the torturous crap they put on for me, I still can picture big fat Asian men or Japanese men or wherever they were from wearing nappies, being baby fed by a dominatrix. Because my brother and sister showed me that at 4 years old. That image is still in my head today, right? So there was a bit of different exposure that I'm still offended today that I was considered too immature. So to my acting teacher, thank you very much. My life could have been so much different if you had have told me about the bloody audition. But the set that they had was fantastic. They had a Dodgem car on stage, and there was like a quarter of a Ferris wheel.
Okay, cool.
That took up the back. They had the American flag. Normally there would be a cyclorama at the theater, but they took that down. A cyclorama, sorry, it's a white sheet at the back that lights will hit it and flood. That's your backdrop.
Okay.
We call it a cyclorama just to make it difficult. That was taken away. The American flag was sort of roughly painted on it. I remember hay bales. I remember there were targets. There were 6 or 7 targets for all the presidents that had their names on it. So I never saw the production, but I remember we got told. So this is how obsessed with theatre I was. Even at 11 years old, a show I never saw. I still today remember the set and everything about it that I was told. When a president was shot, those targets would fly away.
Okay.
So it would represent them being killed or at least being attempted to be killed. So yeah, I was always disappointed I never got to be a part of that production. Bugger.
Yep.
Oh well.
So it's not playing anymore, I'm guessing that.
Actually no, there was meant to be a production off Broadway this year.
Yeah.
Sorry, last year, because we're now in this year.
And this year's but this year's the same as last year. So yeah.
Well, yes, obviously. It's not the years that need to change, it's people's attitudes that need to change. However, yeah, there is meant to be a professional production opening in New York soon-ish.
Yeah.
Soon-ish. But I want a professional production in Melbourne Theatre Company to do it again.
You could pretty much, sadly, there's probably 2 countries in the world where you can do it, and one's Australia and the other one's New Zealand. So
no, you could do it in UK.
Seriously? Have you seen the shit fight that they're in at the moment? They're like...
You could do it in northern Vietnam because they hate Americans there, and don't you think they would love to see a musical like this?
I was thinking more of putting people in close proximity in a theater rather than politically.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
so they don't,
Sorry.
contract some horrible respiratory illness. I was thinking.
I'll tell you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No,
you
that's
can
fair
do
enough.
it here. No.
Yeah, they could.
No.
I
Politically,
thought
you could do this anywhere right now.
You could very much do it right now. And I did not choose it because Trump is in power. In fact, if I had have waited till Biden was in power and chose this album, someone would have accused me of hating Joe Biden. What is his name? Joe or Jim?
It's Joe.
Joe Biden. So that's how much I care about your politics, kids. See, like I had to do it now just to get it over and done with, and while Trump's still in power.
40.
It was nothing to do with the choice. Nothing at all. It is a fantastic musical.
He's got 14 more days if you're in Australia, 15 if you're in the US. But anyway, that's just we're not counting down to the 20th of.
That's what you all think.
20th January at all. No. Anyway, there you go. It's 4 out of 5.
It is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You put some guitars in there and some big drums, and this is a great thing. This could be you could rock the shit out of this, to be honest. You could rock.
The original was three instruments. Sorry, dude.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
All you need is 3 instruments, and that's a rock band.
That's it.
And 3 chords.
Guitar, bass,
that's
drums.
Definitely a rock band.
There we are. That is music.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see this, but it totally works, and yeah. All right. Well done.
Yeah, no.
For just giving me something. Just, I think back to my first one that I had to listen to was Hello Dolly and how far we've come.
Yeah.
I thought that's what it was going to be. I was just going to get shiny happy Barbara Streisand every fucking week. So
well, I would like to quote for emphasis your little quote last week of I'm not going to fall for it this week, Aaron. This week you fell for it.
Yeah, it's not about it's not a
pat on back.
It's
excuse me. Yes, it is. When my ego is at stake, of course it is.
No, I've hated some shit you give me, and I'll So,
look there is some really truly awful stuff to come. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. But come hard and come early.
Yeah.
So they get the points on the board, and then I'm too far ahead for you to catch up, and that's fine. Look, I tell you. Sorry, go.
Not that it's a contest.
Okay, whatever. Of course it is. I'll tell you what. This is one show that I would definitely direct.
Okay.
Hell yes, to explore. This is a human psyche show. It's not a jazz hand show. It's not your big chorus lines or anything. There is a small cast. To be able to work with those actors or to work with any actors, full stop, and to develop those characters and to go through the history of those people and all that. And you sort of look at people like Lynette Fromm, who was mixed up with Charles Manson. Her name's like elsewhere. And you know what I mean? Like you can see impersonations or characterizations of her in other films and stuff. So, and obviously all the other people as well. Yeah, no, I'm glad.
There we go.
And did you like it, Jonathan?
There we go. Listen, I didn't listen to the whole thing. I'm not going to bullshit, but listening to the discussion that you guys had about it, I'm going to go back and listen through and through because the concept's really good, and it would lend itself to a long form of video concept or a film. I could take that material of all the assassins collaborating and talking, discussing philosophy and why into musical form. That's kind of whacked out, but cool.
Yeah, there are a lot of scenes in it. Like there's a scene with Emma Goldman, who was a Russian feminist, I think she was, and I think Lynette Fromm, and they sort of meet on a park bench, and there's fried chicken involved, and I actually wrote that down because I wrote down there Sarah Jane Moore fried chicken lunchtime.
Okay, yeah.
I know what I'm having for lunch.
It feels like it has a lot of surreal moments that you could put together.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like you could have those scenes in it. And it is one of those crazy scenes that is like the they ain't got no fucking hamburgers with who's doing that? It's Mario Cantone on the CD, but who's he playing? Samuel Bick.
Okay.
or Samuel Byck or Bick, B-Y-C-K. I think that's who he's playing.
Yeah.
So that's a crazy song. Like, do you want to be like? There's all these weird, strange things in there, or whatnot, because it is a surreal place. They're all essentially, I think, meeting in purgatory.
Okay.
That purgatory is a carnival. Full stop.
Sure.
Okay. And yeah, that's their connective tissue. Is that it's like the ending of Lost, where
no one saw the ending of Lost. You've lost me.
Okay, well, they weren't all dead, but their souls had created their own world, not a purgatory. Their souls had created a world, so that once they're all ready to move on, they will all realize where they are and move on together. We're clear on that? Very simple ending. How does nobody get this? I don't fucking know, man. It's been 10 years and I'm still arguing.
It's like the movie Carnival, that horror movie Carnival of Souls.
Oh, with that's a Wes Craven movie, wasn't it?
I don't know. That's I think that was like 1962.
He did the 90s remake.
Yeah, Carnival of Souls. That's the original. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't know who did the newer version, but I remember the old one, black and white. And that's almost like you can take this Assassin's Carnival of Souls and then just put on your Fellini hat and fucking go to town.
Yeah. Well, exactly. I think it was William Castle, but I'm just checking that up. No, Herc Harvey. I know I haven't heard of him.
Okay.
And it was remade in '98. Yes, that sort of thing. That's what I reckon. That's where they are, and that's why they're at a carnival.
Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, it was good.
Wes Craven did produce the '98 remake. So I don't know my Herc Herman, but I do know my Wes Craven.
Well, find the original on Criterion probably. So we'll have a look for that.
Probably.
Sounds like fun.
The remake was okay. Anyways, yeah. Oh look, I'm glad that you enjoyed this. Yeah. And yes, definitely go back and listen to it, Jonathan, and everyone at home. Check out Assassins because it is so much better than Titans of Excretion.
Wow, so much disrespect for my for my first.
I've been waiting to get that in because I missed it in my review. Damn it! It was a handwritten note that I forgot to add in there. I had to find a place to put it.
You miss like Hinkley. Anyway, shall we wrap things up?
I guess so.
We could just sit here talking shit all day, but I got a life. So
yeah, no, okay, we'll wrap it up. We can't keep our guests too much longer. But look, Jonathan, you're welcome back anytime. Please do. And I always need the extra backup to put Gareth in his place.
No, you don't.
You said that quite forcibly.
You don't.
Anyway. I enjoyed the conversation, guys. I really did. It was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me on.
Good.
Thanks, Jonathan. It's been a pleasure.
Absolute pleasure. Do you have anything to plug before we go?
Nope. Just everybody be safe. But you guys are doing better than we are here in the United States. So, just be safe and do the best you can with everything.
Wear your fucking masks.
Yes.
Full stop. Like, it's not going to hurt you. It's not taking away your liberty, for crying out loud. Like, goodness gracious, mate. But anyways, Gareth, have you got anything to plug? Your end of year review came out.
My end of year review came out at wallofsoundau.com. So head over there and see all the wonderful things that I thought was great in music. And I even wrote about the one gig I saw last year before everything went to shit. And you can see how high I rated Testament, Titans of Creation in my end of year review. Yeah, go and check that out, and then you can check out all the other shit I write about over there. My opinions, I have many, and the great thing about that medium is I get to put it down, and I put it down on the page, and no one tells me I'm wrong halfway through it. So it's I like that.
I wonder who he's talking about.
I do like comments. I don't good comments, negative or positive, as long as it's constructive, and if it's not, I just ignore it. So. Head over wallofsoundau.com, and you can catch me on the Twitters at NotGareth, and I tweet about, I don't know, whatever I'm feeling. So, there's 1,000 odd people that seem to like me at the moment, so become one of them.
Oh, really? What's wrong with them?
I don't know.
Anyways,
I don't know. So I go back through my old tweets and go, what is this guy talking about? Don't know where.
Yeah. No, don't worry, I do that too. Go through your old tweets and think, God, what do I say in that guy? Anyways, that's mean. Check out the Tonniston Tales. Yes. Follow us on Twitter. Bloop Network and Thrash and Treasure, all that jazz. Special thank you.
Hey, I got a new follower, man. This guy's
Oh, okay. No, I just worked that out.
some insane person. Just okay.
I tell you what, with our first guest being a Broadway diva legend, now we've got Jonathan. Next week we've got a West End star.
Do you want to give me something before we sign off?
Yeah.
Yep.
What do I want to give you?
Oh, well, I can give you my next album for next week if you. Oh no!
Shit! Yes.
Or have we?
No, we haven't. We haven't. There was a thing because Dave picked the album for me next week.
Okay, what did he pick?
Well, first off, he picked Metallica Ride the Lightning, and I had to say to him,
too easy.
Too easy. We've kind of put a ban on Metallica because I know them. And then he turned around and said Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
Whatever album that was, and I'm like, shit, no, because that's the album we were going to do this week for the Jonathan episode because he did the BlitzCon, what's it, a performance.
Okay.
Right, and so then I had to go back and tell Dave that no, you need to pick a third album, and I thought, no, I can't do that. That's really mean. So it should have been Ozzy Osbourne this week, but I know it is going to be for next week. So I don't even know what the album's called. Something of a Man, Measure of a Man, or
okay.
You're the one giving it to me now.
Well, no, I wasn't sent it. So
hang on. Diary of a Madman. I was way off.
Oh, thank God for that. Because if it was Ordinary Man, which is his latest one, but Diary's a certified classic. So there you go.
Okay, you are giving me Diary of a Madman.
There you go. You get Ozzy.
And I am giving you something which you scoffed at a couple of weeks ago, so serves you right. Billy Elliot, the musical. And yes, I hope you enjoy it. It's the music's by Elton John.
Oh, joy.
As in the Reginald Dwight.
Yeah.
And oh, joy, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Elton John has some fantastic songs.
He does.
Yes, he does.
All right. On that note.
Sometimes worry about you. First Kate Bush and now Elton John.
Yeah, don't worry. It gets worse. Anyway, I've got Billy Elliot. You've got Diary of a Madman.
Yes. All righty.
We've had Mr. Jonathan X. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. I had a great time.
Yep, so do we. And as I say, come back anytime.
All right.
Hey, anytime you invite, I'll do it if I'm not busy, okay?
Yep,
Which
awesome.
means 2020, I'll be available all of 2021.
2021.
So if you ever need a ringer to come in and just spew the same bullshit, I'd be more than happy to.
You know, I
share that philosophy, okay? All right, brother. I appreciate that.
And that's it from us. We'll see you next time. Good night.
All right, guys. Take care.
Hooroo.
Like Quicksand!